are Jalen and Jacoby. Mr. Rose, what is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
We have Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. We have another Mahomes performance, but we start where the football ended late last night, and that is with Aaron Rodgers throwing not one, not two, not three, but 4 touchdowns and 327 yards in the air. What did you think about Aaron Rodgers last night?
Well, I was watching this game on the edge of my seat, enjoying some homemade popcorn. I was sipping on some cold sake because I was playing against Aaron Rodgers in fantasy while I have Aaron Jones. And I realized something. People better put some respect on Matt LaFleur's name. Remember when they drafted a quarterback in the first round and everybody thought it was to the demise of the franchise? Now if something happens to Aaron Rodgers, guess what they have? A backup. Because Matt LaFleur has developed multiple backs that they can throw it to out of the backfield, they can run into multiple receivers. He's throwing the ball all over the lot. He's throwing it to tight ends. It was fantastic to watch Aaron Rodgers really pick them apart.
I think it is smart to not just give Rodgers credit, but also LaFleur credit for their offensive performance. They're sitting at 4-0, and I was watching this game last night, not with fantasy implications, not with some fresh-made popcorn, and I said to myself, you know what? This is very clear to me right now. It all became very clear to me. There are only 2 teams in the NFC that are true contenders. Here's how I see the NFC after watching that game last night. It is the Packers, it is the Seahawks, and then there's a large gap with these other teams that might be dangerous in the playoffs. But I see 2 clear, true contenders in the NFC, and then some teams that could make a leap, and that's the Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Saints. Do you disagree with how I see the NFC?
I think that's fair, and you know I'm a huge fan of Straight Jacket Jacoby. I want to see what happens with Seattle as their season progresses because Russell Wilson has been outstanding. If Carson can stay healthy, like to me, if I had to pick one, I would pick Seattle. And him and Pete Carroll, just what they've been able to accomplish together. I understand why you got to give the Rams their credit because they're 3-1. I still just don't see them as a Super Bowl contending team. But I understand why you would separate those 2 teams in particular who just so happen to be undefeated. And also, you can't underestimate Tom Brady. I know they're sitting there at 3-1. I think their defense is going to continue to get better. They're going to get healthy. They'll get Fournette back hopefully at some point. The Bucs going to be in the conversation also.
Everyone watching this is lying to themselves. If they didn't see the first couple drives of the Bucs last week, it'd be like, Tom Brady might be done. Tom Brady might be done. And then he threw for 5 touchdowns. Jalen, that wasn't the only football action last night. Due to the positive coronavirus test of Cam Newton, the Patriots-Chiefs game was delayed until Monday night, and it was an interesting contest. Of course, the Chiefs ended up winning. Mahomes played pretty well. What did you think about the Chiefs last night?
Where my homies, their defense. We're going to talk a lot about their offense, and rightfully so. But the first handful of weeks of the season, they've been outstanding. And you know I'm a huge fan of the Honey Badger, and I appreciate what he's been able to overcome to resurrect his career, become a champion. The Patriots had a couple of drops. Edelman had a drop as well that led to Honey Badger's touchdown. And their quarterback play was just bad for the Patriots. Just bad. Brian Hoyer, like you do know that y'all in field goal range. Like you can't take
Where are you running, dog?
And then, and then you bring in Stidham. There were people that actually said that Stidham was going to replace Tom Brady. Where those people at? The same guy that got in and threw 2 interceptions so fast? Oh, man, if Cam Newton would have been playing, we would have got that headline matchup we was really looking for.
I'm glad you brought that up because while the Chiefs got the win, I watched every snap of this game and I started asking myself something I don't normally ask myself. Is this Chiefs team vulnerable? Obviously, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest defensive minds to ever think about the game of football, but they had 6 points at the half. You look at the final score, oh, look, they had 26. But don't forget, we had that pick 6. So they scored basically 19 points. And this Chiefs offense was kind of stifled by the Patriots defense. And don't forget that overtime game they had against the Chargers. The Chiefs do not look like this runaway Super Bowl favorite that we all kind of expected them to be, and we all thought they would be after that Monday night win against the Ravens. Do you agree with me that this Chiefs team looks a little vulnerable?
It usually doesn't happen the way people anticipate that it will, because every time somebody wins a championship, we just look at it like they steamrolled the opponents and they got the big shiny rings. We underestimate the fact that The Texans were beating them 24-0 and just fired their coach. That's how fast things change in the NFL. And when you're the reigning Super Bowl champions, and it's a physical sport, you're getting everybody's best game each week. So it ain't like they're going to go out there and blow everybody out every week, even though they're so supremely talented.
That's a good point. And there was no true example of what you're talking about. It's sort of how we remember it as champions just steamrolling everybody. But in fact, they've been challenged all the way through. Then when I watched The Last Dance and that Michael Jordan run, we all talk about 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 6 finals appearances. But they were pushed a lot to get there. And you know that firsthand because you were on that Pacers team that should have won. But I use that to transition to this year's NBA Finals, where we thought it would be the Lakers just steamrolling through the Heat, especially after the injuries to Goran and Bam. But now we are on the day of Game 4, coming off a big Heat victory powered by Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo is listed as questionable. He'll do everything he can to get on the court. What do you expect to see tonight? And what did you see in Game 3 from the Heat?
I'm an animal lover, in particular dogs. Just bought my daughter Gracie a German Shepherd. His name is King Louis. And you know, one of the things you do with animals when you put them outside without a fence, you make an electronic fence, right? So they can stay in your yard. That's what I saw around the paint for Anthony Davis, because he didn't go inside the paint. He did not go inside the paint.
3 shots from the paint.
He had a couple of touches where he caught the ball in the paint. Yeah, and you know what's more disappointing about that? No Bam Adebayo, who's a physical specimen. I want to give Kelly Olynyk a lot of credit. We keep talking about the great play of Jimmy Butler, and rightfully so, a historic performance. But he came in as a starter, and he put in work. And he made Anthony Davis play defense at that three-point line. So that's what I saw. Struggling Anthony Davis, that they can't afford to have him come out and play as lackluster tonight.
And one of the things I want to point out, the main difference between Game 2 and Game 3, everyone talks about Jimmy Butler performance, and that's true. It was a great performance. And everybody else says, well, Anthony Davis, he played well, he disappeared. And that's also true. He was in foul trouble. But I think one of the key things that the Heat did, and Spoelstra is so good at adjusting game to game in these series, is they played basically 50% zone in Game 2. They played barely any zone in Game 3. They just tried to double Davis, get the ball out of his hands. They would help and get back to their assignments. They were letting Markieff Morris shoot whatever he wanted, and he was hitting, to be honest with you. Danny Green couldn't hit anything. Now, coming into tonight, you know how this is always sort of a chess match. You know, it's a chess match. Do you expect them to go back to the zone as a reaction to that? Do you think them to stick with the man-to-man tonight to try to stifle the Lakers?
I think they're going to ultimately play a lot of zone because you got to try to suffocate the paint and keep the Lakers outside of it. And that's one of the ways you're able to do it, by stacking the zone the way they did. And again, you got to give them a lot of credit. The Miami Heat did exactly what I anticipated, to be honest with you. Their DNA is all about toughness, sacrifice, and finding a way to get it done. You saw Eric Spoelstra at the press conference when he was asked about what people think. You saw Jimmy Butler distinctly guarantee a win. Now, just think about this for a second. Jimmy Butler is playing basketball against LeBron James in the NBA Finals. Guarantees a win to the media. Goes out and scores 40 and has a triple-double against LeBron James. He bullied LeBron, dog. Don't talk to me about the role players in Game 3. AD, LeBron will tell you. I'm pretty sure they were in film session like, wait a minute. Jimmy had more points, rebounds, and assists than I did? That has never happened to me in a basketball game ever. I'm LeBron James. And also caused 6 turnovers when he was guarding LeBron. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He guaranteed a win and got LeBron James to turn the ball over 6 times and score 40.
Jalen,
okay, so I believe the Lakers win this game, however, but I think Jimmy Butler and them is going to find a way to win a secondary game. Overall, this will ultimately be Lakers in 6. But make sure you acknowledge what Jimmy Butler did in that previous game. That's all-time outstanding.
We will acknowledge what Jimmy Butler did in that previous game, because it will be the last time that we will acknowledge a good Heat performance, because you know that AD, especially AD, is going to come back and perform tonight. And I think that the Lakers get the win tonight. And then Game 5, here's what I see. I see all the Lakers look at their plane tickets. Might as well just put the plane tickets up on the whiteboard. Just be like, do you want to stay in the bubble? Do you want to eat at the same restaurant again? Do you want to live in that hotel room? Or do you want to go home? That's why I have the Lakers winning in 5, because the motivation to bounce back from the Game 3 performance, especially from Anthony Davis, and just the motivation to get out of the bubble. Like, I don't think people really understand just how bad these players want to leave. The Lakers are the more talented team. They're the healthier team, and they will get this done in 5. Now, I do want to get back to one X's and O's thing, because you kind of said that Jimmy Butler bullied LeBron, and it kind of looked like it, especially in the fourth quarter. And then LeBron did the thing he did with Jamal Murray. He's like, oh, this guy's hot, then let me check him. However, in the pick and roll defense, he was allowing that switch to happen, and then you'd watch Jimmy Butler score on Morris or score on KCP. Do you think that he will fight through those picks? Do you think they will change their defensive strategy in Game 4?
I don't think they'll necessarily change their defensive strategy. They're just going to play with more force, with more effort. Jimmy Butler had 40 points in the finals game and didn't attempt a three-point shot. The last dude to do that was Shaq in the early 2000s, and he's 7 foot, 300 pounds. That's what I mean when you watch the Miami Heat play. They're not a monolith like most of the teams where you have 5 guys standing around the three-point line. They do dribble handoffs. They do away actions for pick and rolls. And their best players offensively aren't volume three-point shooters. So the Lakers got to use their height and suffocate the paint better.
You know what? I'm petty, and I know LeBron is too. I know he thought this, and he would never, ever admit it. There's a part of him that was like, oh, AD done lost the Finals MVP. AD just handed me the Finals MVP with that Game 3. I really believe that. He would never admit it or say it into a microphone, but somewhere in the back of his head, he was like, oh, AD just put that thing on a platter for me and watch me take this home. Jalen, sometimes there's video in the world of sports that we need to break down with the minute details, so you and I go to the table. Julius Randle's son is learning the game of basketball. And look at this young man on the court. They've got the uniforms. They've got the refs. The action's going down. That's him, number 30, right there. So he's just trying to help his teammates, getting double teamed, trying to help his teammate. It's just like, takes him down. Jalen, what do you think about Julius Randle's son's approach to offensive basketball?
I love that so much. First off, he got great hair. Second, he's rocking his dad's number to the fullest. Great to see his dad there to support him and watch him play. Maybe we have the first guy that can play in the NFL and the NBA at the same time. How about that?
Maybe we will see that. He's certainly headed that direction with his approach to offense. Jalen, Bill O'Brien is no longer the GM. Coming to you live from Pier 17 in the South Street Seaport District of Manhattan, and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, it's time for you to decide what we discuss. It's time for Keep It Moving.
Wu-Tang! Wu-Tang!
If you would like to discuss the topic, just say hit the brakes. If not, me, you, and Method Man will keep it moving. And we start with Bill O'Brien no longer with the Houston Texans. Bill O'Brien is no longer the GM or the head coach of the Houston Texans after an 0-4 start. What do you think of this?
I think we just talked about this topic after the first week, after the second week, after the third week, after we had D-Hop on the show. As a matter of fact, we've been talking about this since Clowney left. We've been talking about this since Bill O'Brien in particular has been the GM. The only thing he did as the GM was get Deshaun Watson drafted and signed. I told you, once he signed that contract, he was going to be fired. We look up 2 weeks after I said it, he is fired. What ended up happening is D-Hop and Deshaun had to break up because of him to both get their bread. He was standing in the way. They supposed to fire him in the offseason and kept them together.
I look forward to them hiring Eric Bieniemy this offseason, but I do want to say this about this firing. Your boy Matt Patricia and Adam Gase are like, oh, we're doing that now? Only after 4 weeks? We're doing that?
Oh, we got a problem here? Like Ice Cube, like we got a problem here?
Moving on. A team that has hired a new coach announced him and had a little press conference. Of course, I'm talking about the 76ers and Doc Rivers. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Glenn Doc Rivers said about Embiid and Simmons as a pairing, it clearly works when they play together. Jalen, do you think they will keep Embiid and Simmons through this offseason and draft?
What he said is an absolute fact. It clearly works when they play together. The problem is Joel Embiid misses practice and game time, and Ben Simmons isn't taking shots outside of the paint. The compatibility has been more of an issue. Not can they make the playoffs, it's can they win the East. I think what Doc is going to earn his big dollars is getting the most and better out of Tobias Harris. And so when you give him that deal, you need him to really be productive when all of these guys are watching Jimmy Butler lead the Miami Heat the first year with the squad to the finals after he just left Philly because they chose not to re-sign him. So Doc Rivers is going to be a guy to try to reposition these players. The East is wide open. The Nets will be there. The Bucks are great in the regular season. Can they turn it on in the playoffs? The Heat are going to continue to ascend. So if these guys are healthy in a 7-game series, they're going to be a tough out. And Toronto's going to do something in this offseason. Wink, wink, if they add Montrezl Harrell.
Remember where you heard the Montrezl Harrell news first. Moving on, Jalen. We've got some bad news for fantasy owners of Nick Chubb. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Get well soon, big fella. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
The Bronx Bombers lived up to their name. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes. Where my bet?
Bronx Bombers, the Yankees, came back from 2 deficits in this one to beat the Rays 9-3 and take a lead in the series after winning Game 1. What do you think of this?
So to me, it's not always winning or losing. Is if you're playing to the identity of how you built your team. Mm-hmm. And when you sign big-time dollars for starting pitching, you need them to go out there and be aces. They're getting that. When you have home run hitters the way they do, that's how you're going to win games. They ain't going to small ball nobody. You ain't going to see the Yankees trying to bunt and steal bases to manufacture runs. They're trying to hit home runs. Okay, yes. So they're playing to their identity. That's why they look like they have a legitimate chance to possibly win it this year.
They're not trying to sprint between bases. They're trying to jog around the bases. And it's worked to this point, and they've now got a 1-0 lead on the Tampa Bay Rays. Moving on, the Hawks released some very significant jersey designs for next season. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Let's take a look at the new alternate Hawks jersey for next season. Jalen, what does this tell you about where they're going?
It tells me I need one of those. That flat out. And I got Grant Hill, one of the owners, my brother. Just like I hit them up for tickets, they do a terrific job of showing me and the fam love years and years and years going to Hawks games. I need one of those with the number 5 on it. That is beautiful. And I'm also going to say this. You're probably going to see that uniform either around MLK Day. That's when the NBA hopes to start the season. But likely Black History Month because they want to try to have fans in the stands. But either way, that's when you'll get your NBA for the next season, 2021.
Jalen, you use this platform to break down sports, not just basketball, like no one else I've ever seen. You do such a great job of that. You use this platform to help the fight against social injustice, and you're great at that too. You also use this platform to ask for stuff all the time. I like you do sometimes. Sometimes you're just like, yo, can I get some jerseys? Can I get some jerseys? Like, yo, do that on your own time, Jay. Do that on your own time. Finally, we have
represent for my peeps.
The WNBA Finals. Game 3 tonight at 7 p.m. Keep moving. Hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
This could be the night where the Seattle Storm win the WNBA Finals from the Wubble. Will they do it with Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird?
I have to reveal something, Jacoby. I'm going to make it real quick because I'm going to make it real quick. You know the kind of professional crush that I have on the Joker? Mm-hmm. I have one on Breanna Stewart, too. She got game. They're going to win.
Don't forget the dedication that we have as a show to Sabrina Ionescu. I will never leave you, Sabrina. I will never die easy on you like Jalen Rose just did. We'll be back with much more. You're watching Jalen and Jacoby. 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. It is Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Can the Heat even the series against the Lakers? Find out at 9 on ABC. And don't forget to watch NBA Countdown at 8:30 also on ABC. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, it is Tuesday, so it is time for our Tuesday takeaways. We've taken in all the information from week 4 and broke it down into one simple thought apiece. What is your Tuesday takeaway?
The Cowboys ain't going to the Super Bowl. Luckily, they're going to make the playoffs because they're in the NFC least. But in order to change their fortunes and remake their roster after they paid a couple of people on defense and they paid Amari Cooper, once they pay Dak, it's going to be at the expense of Ezekiel Elliott. Ultimately, he's going to end up elsewhere, and the team is going to be happy to have him.
My Tuesday takeaway is very simple. If you're in Miami, it is Tua time. I don't care what you say, Brian Flores. Fitzpatrick has 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Put Tua in the game. It is time. It is also time for highly questionable Dan Le Batard. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Make sure you listen to our podcast and subscribe.